This mysterious story took place in early 2020. A 16-year-old girl disappeared under strange circumstances, but the mystery of this case only made him more confused, despite the fact that the police have completed the investigation. The case remains one of the most mysterious in recent years. In this video, we will tell you the horror story of Selena Shelley Faye and try to answer the main question, whether the police actually solved the case or whether they covered up what really happened to her. Native American Selena Shelley Faye was born on June 18, 2003 on the Big Horn Indian Reservation, Montana, in a town called Hardin. Her friends described her as a kind, cheerful, and very active girl. She liked to play basketball, had many friends, but her main hobby was riding horses. Selena seriously thought about opening her own farm after school and participate in the races at a professional level. She has maintained a positive attitude despite the successive tragedies that her family went through. The family originally had 5 children. In 2014, Selena's twin sister, an 11-year-old, committed suicide without even leaving a hint of what prompted her to take such a tragic step. In 2017, Selena's brother died at the hands of a policeman, and in the same year, Selena's older sister died under the wheels of a car. She was walking along the road when an unidentified driver hit her and took off. Thus, only 2 of the 5 children remained. It is hard to believe how much pain and suffering one family can endure. Alas, this tragedy in their lives did not end. On New Year's Eve, 2020, Selena was held among friends. They went to a party at the country house, where they stayed until the next day. On 1 January, Selena and 5 of her friends, including 4 youths and 1 girl, drove back to Hardin by car. The story then becomes, to put it mildly, strange, and yet it is the official data from the case file, and first we will read them. And so, on the way to the city, there was a problem with the car. The driver parked at a nearby stop and tried to fix the car. He managed to temporarily fix the problem, but stated that the machine could break down again at any moment. For this reason, he asked Selena and her friend Orlando to wait at the bus stop until his mother came and picked them up. Since she had just under 15 minutes by car to stop, the story sounds extremely dubious. Why friends of the girl decided to go on, leaving them at a stop in the middle of the wilderness. But that was what the driver said. There is also a theory that after repairing the car, the driver had to immediately move, otherwise the car risked again stalling. And Selena and her friend went too far away at that time, and the guys decided to leave without them, sending the mother of one of them. But this version is not reflected in the police documents, but only given by the local media. Further, the really confirmed information follows. The driver's mother really came to that stop to pick up the girls, but they weren't there anymore. Thinking they might be walking around, the woman started looking for them. At some point, she came across Orlando, who was sitting in a ditch with a lost view. Her shoes were missing and all her legs were covered with scratches. Selena wasn't there. A shocked woman tried to find out from Orlando what had happened. But she said she had no memory of how she got here, no idea where she was. The woman contacted Selena's parents and reported her missing, and they immediately contacted the police. The first thing the police did was talk to Orlando. She still couldn't remember the details. She just told the detectives that she saw Selena just walk off the field road, and her friend never saw her again. After hearing this story, Selena's parents failed to understand why her daughter might have gone somewhere unknown for no apparent reason. The problem was that there was a low temperature outside and the girl was clearly not dressed for the weather. She was wearing a light jacket, a sweater and jeans. I think you've realized how strange this story is, but it's just the beginning. On the same day, the police conducted a large-scale search within a 6-kilometer radius of where the girl was last seen. Hundreds of people participated, including service dogs, mounted police, helicopters, HCVs, and even heat sensor drones. The FBI was also very quickly involved. Perhaps this case has taken on such a scale because of the sad statistic. In Montana, Native Americans are far more likely to go missing than others. The police are most often reluctant to investigate these cases and sometimes refuse to investigate them at all. Locals are regularly protesting, trying to get through to the federal government, but the natives continued to disappear. In addition, Selena's relatives immediately sought help from news outlets to publicize the story and speed up police work. News of Selena's disappearance quickly spread throughout the city, and hundreds of volunteers joined the search. Most of them were also Native American, including students in her school. The adults helped sweep the area, and the teenagers pasted leaflets and spread information about the disappearance of their classmate throughout the city, but the search did not yield any results. Of course, the police inspected the car in which Selena and friends were driving home. I also interviewed all her friends who were with her that day, and here everything is no less strange. The investigators did not disclose any related information. Maybe the friends didn't tell them anything useful, but the public was expecting some details. Then the police decided to follow up on another theory. What if Selena was abducted from that stop? This theory ran counter to the story of a friend who claimed that Selena had left the field, but there was some support for the story of the kidnapping. A witness reported seeing a green car with Wyoming plates near the bus stop. Days passed, and the search yielded no results, so most people began to consider the abduction as a primary. The police then received reports that people had seen the girl in different places, but all these tips were useless. The police examined the security footage of the places where Selena was allegedly seen and not present. The police also tried to trace the girl's smartphone, but they failed and it was turned off. The investigation lasted until 20 January. On that day, 3 weeks after Selena's disappearance, the most mysterious event in the whole story occurred. The girl's body was finally found. And where do you think she's been all this time? Her body was found just a mile from that bus stop. The body was discovered by the sheriff of Bighorn County, who bore the Indian name Big Head. Let's refresh the memory of key moments. Hundreds of volunteers on foot, dozens of horsemen, service dogs, a helicopter, heat sensor drones, and a search radius of about 6 kilometers. With all this, the body is found a kilometer from the stop. At this point, everyone had one question. How could they not notice? Special attention is the fact that the place on which Selena was found is practically a bare field. The sheriff of Bighorn County has stated that the preliminary theory is that the cause of death was natural. On 28 February, more than a month after the body was found, the results of the medical examination arrived. The report, signed by 4 doctors, described hypothermia as the cause of death. This has led to more questions and mistrust on the part of the public. Not only were the search parties unable to find Selena in an open field for 20 days, but she also allegedly died of hypothermia a kilometer from the road. Let's take a look at the temperature that day. According to the local news site, which publishes daily weather information, the day of January 1 was about 8 degrees outside. Selena was wearing a light jacket and a sweater. Although this was not enough for a long and comfortable stay on the street, how can a healthy 16-year-old girl freeze to death? After all, just a kilometer from it, past the track where cars regularly passed, and you could ask for help. How things must have progressed for a girl to deliberately wait for her death in one place and manage to freeze at 8 degrees. Of course, all these questions have fallen on the police. Investigators said that the drone and the helicopter were prevented by poor visibility that day due to heavy fog. And the foot and other units simply did not notice Selena, even though they passed a few hundred meters away. As for the dogs, they were service, but not search. Also, they were kept on a leash. Because the search involved many strangers and the police were afraid to let the dogs go so that they would not attack those present. For the Selena family, as well as for the Native American community, these excuses seemed completely unconvincing, and they demanded a thorough investigation into her murder. For them, it was as if the girl's body had been placed there after the first wave of searching. But there was a problem. The sheriff of Bighorn County, who led the police in this case and personally discovered Selena's body, has a very vague history. In 1995, while still a simple officer, a Native American accused him of violence, but the man denied the charges and was not convicted. 2 years later, his service weapon was used in a murder, and the future sheriff was tried again. There he stated that his weapon had been stolen and that it had nothing to do with the case. All charges were dropped again, but oddly enough, he paid the victim's family some of the money they claimed in the lawsuit. He was later tried again for assault, but received no serious punishment. No wonder the community was slow to believe this man's word. Despite the FBI's involvement in the case, Selena's family and acquaintances began to suspect that the sheriff himself might be involved in the murder of the girl and further cover. But here is another question. Even if we imagine that on that day, the sheriff captured Selena and took her to an unknown place, what next? 4 medical experts signed a report that clearly stated that there were no signs of violent death on the girl's body. They could only confirm death from hypothermia. Given the FBI's involvement, could the sheriff have made 4 doctors cover something up? Or did he keep Selena on the street until she actually died of hypothermia? Sounds dubious. There is another version of what happened. On New Year's Eve, the teenagers were drinking, as the initial toxicology report says. But nobody knows what they were doing the next day. Perhaps they continued to drink or took some illegal substances. As for the alcohol, it's hardly relevant. A man needs to drink a lot to just go into the field, lie down on the ground and lie long enough to die of hypothermia. Even if you consider the fact that Selene was only 16, I can't believe that theory. The banned substance theory, on the other hand, could explain a lot. First, remember Selena's friend who was sitting in a ditch with no shoes and scratched leg. Then remember the very strange story about the broken car and the unexplained reasons why the boys left the girls at the desert stop. Maybe the teenagers did take something, but for 2 girls it was too much. The guys may have gotten scared and just left at the bus stop, but this theory is strongly corroborated by the fact that the driver actually called his mother, who arrived to pick up the girls in literally 15 minutes. Would he do that if the girls were in an inadequate condition? Most likely, teenagers would not involve parents in this situation, but there are some strange moments associated with their company. First, Selena's girlfriend posted some short videos from that trip to Snapchat. At one point, you can see someone standing in front of the car and trying to fix something. At the same time, near the rear passenger seat, 2 guys are arguing aggressively about something. What was going on there until now is not known. All the people who were with Selena that day are silent. Moreover, 2 of them moved to other states. Olana deleted the Facebook page. This is all very strange. More than a year later, none of them answered the questions that still haunt the local Native American community and others. The police do not comment on other teenagers either. There is a strong impression that in this story, something is carefully hidden. As a result, we have a closed making where the official version seems too dubious. After all, according to her, Selena just went into the field, walked for hours, and then just lay on the ground. After a few hours, the police were already there, and if she continued to walk around, she would definitely be noticed. Next, hundreds of people with modern technology could not find her. And 20 days later, her body appeared a kilometer from the road. It looked like she was placed in this position after the active phase of the search was over, even though the police claim there was no tire tracks or other evidence that the body could have been moved. But is it possible to believe the police in this case? Given the sheriff's story, you begin to doubt very much that the police investigation can be considered objective. The FBI was involved though, and they certainly wouldn't cover up for some provincial sheriff. As we can see, each version faces its own contradictions. Now, a year and a half later, the girl's family is still trying to find answers. Of the 5 children, they have only 1 son. They ask that the story of their daughter be shared so that they can have a chance at a new, honest investigation. What do you think happened to Selena? Share your opinion in the comments. Like and subscribe to the video if you like it. Thank you for watching it.